Good evening and welcome to Creating Wellness and Health in Body, Mind, and Spirit. I'm Dr. Ken Davis, and great to be with you again. We're going to talk about some very interesting topics of how we can heal ourselves from the inside out. There are many people, patients, friends, that come in or in our life and in our practice that as I take care of them and work with them and have counseled them and coached them over the years, they just are not excited and enthusiastic in all the things that they're doing in their life. They may be working at a job or for many years, and when I or a situation, I ask them the question: if there were no rules and you couldn't fail and money is not an issue, what's your dream? What's your dream life? What's your dream business model? What's your dream in your personal life? And everyone, my experience is that there's not a quick answer. So I'm going to ask you guys at home, if there were no rules and you couldn't fail, and money is not an issue, what's your dream? What's your dream for your personal life and your business life? And what I'd like you to do this week is I'd like you to get some paper or a journal, and I'd like you to write that question out. If there were no rules and I couldn't fail, and money is not an issue, I could have it be any way that I want it to be. Any way. It could be I could have a villa in the south of France, and I'd have a heliport, and I'd have a jet, and I'd have a company where 400 people will work. Whatever it is, remember, you can't fail. There's no rules. You can have it exactly the way you want it to be. So I'd like you to write this out. It could be 40 pages. And we'll go into this a little bit more. And after you write it out, I'd like you to put it away for about 3 days. And then take it out again, look at it, and make any changes in it. Now, again, I'd like you to do this for your personal life and your business life. Now, unless you are clear in wanting to make a change in your life on any level and have focus, then what this is called is you're putting it on the map, which means that the clarity in which you have in your focus and writing it out then creates a vibration, creates a frequency to the universe, so that now you have it on the map and it can happen. So unless you have clarity about what it is, it's just a wish. And with a wish, I wish this would happen or I wish this would change. There's no action in a wish, which we'll talk about in a minute. Once you take this out, after 3 days of writing your dream, I can't fail, there's no rules, and money is not an issue, the second step to this process is this. I would like you to list these components of yourself. So the next question you will ask yourself is, who do I need to be or become to have this dream? Now, an example would be, well, maybe I would have to exercise. Maybe I'd have to walk faster, dress differently, stand up tall, meditate in the morning, stop drinking alcohol or coffee, eat better, look people in the eyes, talk better, or whatever that may be. So once you write out your list of dreams for business and personal, write the question, who would I need to be or become to have this dream? Because the next component we're going to get into is a universal principle that we call the be, do, have principle. Be, do, and have. But let's just stay on this second question. Now, there may be 20 different aspects of your personality that you list that you would have to change or be or become. And the third step that I would like you to do, once you list who you would need to be or become, is I'd like you to rate on a scale of -10, which is the, I wouldn't call it the worst component, but let's say the more difficult aspect. So meaning that if one of those characteristics of yourself that you'd have to change, be or become would be, let's say I'd have to lose 20 pounds and look a certain way. If you rated that from -10 being the worst to +10, and you put -10, then that's your priority area. So in all the components of who you would need to be or become that you list, I would like you to list on a scale of -10 to +10 in order of priorities. Now, there may be a part of you that you list at the +3, a 0. So list all of them, -10 to +10. Now, if you get that far, you've accomplished a lot. And tonight, I'm not going to give you the next step. I'd like you to get, if you get that far, just by doing that, you're going to make a shift in you. So let's just review again before we move on. I'd like you to write out this week in a journal or paper who, if I can't fail and there's no rules and money is not an issue, what's my dream? And the second component of it is once you list that, remember, put it away for 3 days after you write it out, and don't limit yourself. Then ask yourself, who would I need to be or become to have the dream? And list all those component aspects of yourself, and then rate them on a scale of -10 to +10. And then in the next show, I will give you the next step that you're going to do. For years, I had been involved with a practice management company related to the chiropractic profession. I will not mention any names on the air. Very successful company and helped many doctors. And as a practicing alternative doctor over all the years, I always noticed, especially in the early days, of how there were specific practices and individuals that were extremely successful in practice, but the practitioner, the doctor himself, was not necessarily a great practitioner. It was almost like they didn't really care about what they did other than their ability to be able to look the patient in the eye, tell them what they needed, believe it, make recommendations, and have the person follow through. Whereby the other doctor, or many of the doctors that I came in contact with and knew, were phenomenal practitioners, but they had the least successful practices. And I couldn't really understand why early on as I observed this. Now, being part of this organization, as I mentioned, there was a concept that I heard that really rang true for myself, and I began to understand this phenomenon as to why certain individuals were extremely successful and other ones were great practitioners, but they were not. Now, also the reason why that, especially today with many of the life coaches and coaching scenarios that are going on out there, there's what's called strategy-based coaching and identity-based coaching. So one of the models that I followed and believed in this organization was this, that their principle was who you are inside, meaning the B part of you, determines how well what you do works in life. So rather than strategy-based, meaning that if I said to you, Joe or Mary, if you try these particular steps to accomplish the task to reach your goal of success, So many people will do it, they'll become successful at it, but maybe 20 after them will do the same exact thing, and they do not. And why was that, or why is that? So in the universal principle of be, do, have, the B equation means that who I am underneath the skin, the B part of me, will affect my ability to begin to take action steps in my life, and through these action steps, then I will have. Now, many people or the world or many individuals work in this world this way, where they say, if I have it, then I will begin to take action, and then I'll become that person. It never, ever works that way. Never. Meaning that if I have more money, or I have a better relationship, or I have a better job, and have, I will take action steps to change me and be this person. It never works. We have to first change ourself, the B part of ourselves, inside the skin. To say who I be inside is going to then allow me to begin to take the action steps necessary so that I can manifest and have this in my life. That is the basic principle. B, I have to change me, take action, allows me to take the action steps, and then I can have it. Now, it's true that there are individuals that begin to work on the B part of themselves, but then may be a little hesitant in taking the necessary action steps to manifest those things in their life. But in general, we have to first change the B part of ourself. By doing that, especially in this exercise that I gave you, will allow you to begin to take the action steps necessary to begin to manifest or have what you want in your life. Also, another concept that I want you to think about is that many individuals say that, or they put their well-being, or let's call it happiness, on the end of a need, which means that what we tend to say is that, I need this, or I need this new relationship, or I need this new job, or I need this, I need that. And what we place on the end of that need is the word happiness, which means that if I don't get what I need, then I will become unhappy. Now, instead of saying, when you have a want, meaning that I want a new job, I want a new relationship, see, a want is not a need. So you can want whatever you want, and if you don't manifest it or get it, it doesn't really matter because you're not putting happiness on the end of it. So be careful in the sense of you can want whatever you want, but don't make your wants a need, and don't put happiness on the end of it. So you have some homework to do. You're going to write out your paper, the dream. Who do I need to be or become? You're going to then begin to look at the B part of you and realize that I can manifest anything in my life by first changing me inside, which will allow me to take action steps to manifest what I want in my life. So, universal principle. Can't get away from it. Also, we have to be willing to change ourselves from the inside out, which is what the show is based on tonight, is we have to be willing to deal with the areas of ourself that are the weaker areas, meaning that the areas that we don't necessarily want to deal with. Why? Because it causes pain in us. See, it's easy to do the things that we're strongest at doing. We're all good at that. But it's very difficult and painful to confront the weaker areas of ourself. Why? Because it brings up a lot of pain and emotion. So we tend to shove it down. But I tell friends, patients, and people that we coach over many years that if you can stay with the weaker areas of your personality, stay with it, even though it may be painful, and continue to deal with it and look at it, that's when we have the greatest transformation. That's when it really happens for us, and our life really changes. So, some things to think about, things that we've used in our life that have really made a difference, and just focus on that for a few minutes. Okay, welcome back, and give you a few minutes to think about those concepts, and again, I encourage you to apply them this week as we've talked about. I wanted to get into tonight the other topics of the show. As I mentioned, the show tonight was how we can heal ourselves from the inside out. And, it's been said that every 7 years we have a new body. Every cell in our body is changed, repaired, new cells. And, every so many months we have a new liver, and every so many months we have a new lung, and so on and so forth. So the question, again, is that if we have a new body, every 7 years, why or can we have or develop or change our personality and have kind of a new personality, where the parts of our personality that may be disruptive, or the part of our personality of our emotions and thoughts that kind of plague us on a daily basis, that cause us to react to the scenarios or circumstances in our life a specific way. Patterns that create addictions in ourselves, or, whether it's addiction to cigarettes or alcohol or coffee. I'm just talking now about the negative ones. Can those be changed? Can we so that we're not so much a product or enslaved, so to speak, by the scenarios or the circumstances of our life that primarily dictate how we function on a daily basis? So can we change our personality just like the body changes every 7 years? So this is what we're going to address tonight as we get into some of these other topics. Now, we've mentioned in our previous shows that Lisa and I, in our work and in our travels, traveled extensively around the world for 14 years, and we really traveled and visited every conceivable mystical site that there was. We've been in China and Japan and Tibet and Nepal and India and the Canary Islands and Machu Picchu and the Galapagos, and we studied all of the world religions and varying healing practices and cultures and belief systems and so on and so forth. Also studied, as I mentioned, all of the world religions and many of the mystical components of varying religions, such as Tibetan Buddhism and Sufism and Taoism and the Kabbalah, esoteric mystical Christianity, and there's truth in all of these particular systems. For the last 15 years, I have been involved in a search really to find deeper truth and understanding as to our inner nature, why we're here, what our purpose is, and where we're going. And I wanted to share very simply some of these concepts and understandings that you out there can begin to apply and understand in your life. And I've utilized these studies and understandings not only in our healing work that we do with patients in our office and in our teaching seminars, but also have attempted and worked hard to apply them and utilize these principles and understandings in helping myself and my family grow and our friends grow and learn. So I wanted to talk about what we call introspection, meditation, and observation. And we'll talk for a few minutes upon each one and get very clear about what it is and what it isn't. Now, let's start with introspection first. Now, since we're talking about how can we change ourselves from the inside out, we already talked about the be, do, have principle. How can we change our personality and begin to cleanse it so that we, instead of being dictated by the scenarios or circumstances of our life, how can we begin to master the way in which we think and the way in which we have emotion, so we become the master of it, rather than it being dictated by our reactions to everything that is going on around us. Because, again, we have said previously that many times when we're stressed or we have a reaction to something, it's really something that plugs us in to, it's really never really what's happening, in a sense. It's really something that is reactivating a memory in us that goes back to a particular period or event in our life that we have not recovered from, as we've talked about in the past. So I want you to imagine that every day when you wake up is as if you're given, let's say you're given this magnificent clay. So here you have this clay, and you're going to take this clay and you have a choice of what you can do with it. You can mold it, utilize it, and you can use this clay so that you can think clearly, have balanced emotions. It becomes part of your being, part of your makeup, part of your personality. Provided you take this clay and consciously you mold it and utilize it in a fashion that is useful for you. Rather than taking clay and having blindfold on and just maybe fooling with it and not really being aware of this clay that you have, and you haphazardly use it. Well, every day you're given clay. You're giving vitality and sustenance. That's part of what you breathe in every day. Because every day, in addition to oxygen, you also breathe in chi, or vitality, or life force. This life force, or this chi, we call it vitality, or etheric, or ether. Ether is like prana. It permeates in the universe. And it's given to every human being on this planet, every single day. 100 units of it, actually. Kind of your daily bread, your sustenance. So this clay, this sustenance, this vitality, this chi, this prana that you're given, that is mixed in with the oxygen that you breathe in, can be utilized by you creatively to construct thoughts and emotions that are balanced and in harmony. Or you can utilize this kind of not clear, let's call it subconsciously, so that you are creating something that becomes part of you, like a building block of your personality, but you created it and utilized it based not so much in proper thinking of how to use it, but you've used it to create very strong emotions and desires and needs and wants. Now, once you've taken this substance and have created it, it becomes a building block of your personality. It becomes part of you. They're called elementals. And the reason they're called elementals is because they're in this clay, this vitality, are all of the elements that we know of. Air, water, fire, earth. So once you take this clay, it becomes part of you, you can never ever destroy it. It can never be destroyed because it's life-giving substance. So it behooves us not to use this clay consciously, because if we don't, then we're creating it and molding it that comes back, so to speak, to haunt us, in a sense, by creating very strong emotions, as I said, with little conscious thought in how to use it. So now all of a sudden, our parts of our personality are based in strong attachments. Remember, we talked about in the past that an attachment, something that we desire, is something that we want so badly that if we don't get it, then we're going to become unhappy. Well, in you, or in your making you up as a personality, is this vitality that has been molded by you, either consciously or subconsciously, without thought. So most of these components or these elementals in you become, so to speak, let's call it negative. Negative in the sense that it has a negative effect on the way in which you react and respond in the world. And you can never destroy them because they're made of this life-giving substance. 70 to 80% of these elementals in your subconscious that are constructing your personality are negative, where the rest are positive. So these patterns that we all have where we react to the scenarios around us, or the patterns of our addictions and all of the things that torment our mind and emotions on a daily basis, are the construction of these elementals that are within you. You created them, and they lie very close to the surface of your consciousness. And they're like a battery that want to be recharged all the time to continue the negative ones tormenting your mind on a daily basis. And they get fed by the vitality or the chi that flows in and around your body on a daily basis. So what can we do? So remember, the topic initially was, if we have a new body every 7 years, can we create a new personality? Well, the only way that we can begin to, what we call, dis-energize these elementals. And these elementals, so your personality of you, whether you're Mary, George, John, or Ken, is really a sum total of these elementals that you have constructed through the course of your life and are affected by, that forms the basis of your personality, positive and negative. So again, what can we do? How can we change it? Well, one of the things I tell patients and seminar participants is, if you had a fire and you wanted to put a fire out, you wouldn't put more wood on the fire, would you? You'd want to put water on it. So what happens when we're in life on a daily basis and we're freaking out about something or worried or this or that, all we're doing is we're putting wood on the fire. We're not putting it out. Now, one of the easiest ways, I'll say easy, because it's really easy, but it requires discipline, or is an exercise that we all can do prior to us going to bed at night. And we call that the way of daily introspection. So the word introspection is the word I'm going inward to inspect the way in which I have been thinking and feeling throughout the course of my day. Now, we've all had experiences where we say to ourselves, boy, if I just could have said it a specific way, or said it to that friend of mine, or my significant other, or my workmate, or whatever, if I just could have done it again, I would have done it this way, right? We've all experienced that. That's what introspection is. One of the best areas, because our mind at the time when we're ready for bed or sleep is ripe, is wide open to receive suggestions and look within, so that we can study these emotions and thoughts that we have created and react to through the course of our day. So introspection should be performed 5 minutes prior to going to bed at night. But we want to relax, we want to lie down, or we want to sit up. Because I always recommend trying to sit up prior to going to bed, because there's a tendency, if we lie down, we tend to fall asleep. So introspection is the ability for 5 minutes prior to going to bed at night to review your day from start until finish. The people, the places, where you were, how you reacted, and so on and so forth. But the thing that we tend to do is we begin to judge. and punish. So we have to do introspection with leniency, and I use the word impunity, towards you and the other people of your day. So as you're reviewing your day from start until finish, as you're sitting quietly for 5 minutes prior to going to bed at night, you want to ask yourself some questions. Now, one of the greatest powers that we have within ourselves as a spiritual being is the ability to observe and to use creative visualization. So when you sit quietly for 5 minutes prior to going to bed at night and you look over your day, you want to review the people, the places, and the events, again, as I said, without judgment. Asking yourself, what did I do today that maybe I really should not have done? And if there's something that comes to mind, you review it and you make the changes through visualization in your mind. But here's the catch. There's going to be a tendency by your mind to give you all the reasons why you should have or should not have or been mad or angry or whatever that may be. That's the part of our mind that we have to say, you know what? I'm not going to listen to you right now. You're really not me. We have to disenergize that part of ourselves. Because in a sense, it's not really who we are. Because that voice that comes to the surface is those elementals that are the negative part of you. You created them. So what we want to do is we want to review these. What did I do today that I should not have done? What didn't I do? What did I say today that maybe I should not have said? What didn't I say? What did I feel today that maybe I should not have felt? What didn't I feel that I should have felt? Maybe you left your house in anger towards your significant other for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't smile. You gave the teller at the bank a hard time. Maybe you were impatient with the checkout girl. See, that's the mind reacting to the elementals. It's not who you really are. So as you review and you go through your day from start until finish, do not allow the mind to come up to give you those reasons why you should be mad at them. Because that's not really who you are talking. Now, when you do that, you are using these divine gifts that we all have within ourselves as a spiritual being that we are. So what happens in time is these elementals or these thought and emotional forms that comprise your personality and make you up and make you react actually become disenergized. They leave you. And now, why? What's happening is now you're conscious. You're using this clay, as we started, this vitality, this ether, consciously to create kind and loving and compassionate elementals, because now you're using your mind consciously. And that's how we can change our personality. So we have to be diligent. I tell my patients, you know what? You brush your teeth every night, don't you? Hopefully. Do introspection. Look over your day. But do so with leniency and do not allow that voice to come up to tell you, well, this, and this. Tell that voice to be quiet. Meditation. There are a lot of misnomers about meditation, of what it is and what it isn't. First of all, I recommend that if we practice meditation, we do not want to meditate prior to going to bed. We want to do meditation usually in the morning, or it can be after lunch or early evening. See, before bed is prime time for introspection. So, also, there's a reason why, on a spiritual level, that we have been born into the areas, if we live in the United States, why we're born in the United States and other people are born in Asia and the southeastern. So the practices that are present in these different areas of the world are for those individuals that happen to be born and brought up in those areas. Doesn't mean that someone that's practicing components of Tibetan Buddhism meditation cannot acquire that and utilize those techniques in the West. But what I'm getting at is that there are many individuals that cannot sit for 30 seconds and quiet their mind enough with all of these thoughts and emotions and things racing through their mind. Meditation primarily is the ability to have clear one-sided focus of an object of study. I'll say it again, to have one-sided clear focus on an object of study so that when we look at it and we study that, we can then come to the right decision and the best choice in our action. So, for example, if I have on this table in front of me a cup of coffee, ice cream, a cake, a piece of fruit, a steak, and I'm observing it and I'm studying it, I'm going to look at it and say, well, what's the best choice for my body at this time? I will choose the steak, and I will eat that. In a sense, that one-sided focus on that topic of study and making the best choice is really what meditation is about. It's not necessarily sitting for 2 hours quietly and totally empty, because it's difficult for most people to empty their mind long enough. So I want you to understand that meditation, again, is the ability to have clear, one-sided focus on an object of study. Look at it, study it, observe it, then come to the right decision. Now, if I had a blindfold on, and I said, I got all these things here, and I'm reaching around, there's going to be no focus study until I take the blindfold off. So that's really kind of what meditation is. So when you're focusing on an object of study, study it, observe it, have clear-sighted focus on it, and then come to the right decision and choice about it. Observation. What does observation mean? Is it just observance? See, observation is the ability to let nothing escape your attention. The problem is that we tend to do this with tension. So we want observation without tension. For example, I tell people, how many times do you travel the same way to work? Do you really know what you're looking at? Are you observing it? Are you taking it into your awareness all around you? Are you observing? So observation is the ability to have the awareness to observe and take everything in around you. But you have to do so without tension. Observance. Take it in. Let nothing escape your attention. And then the whole world opens up to you. And what this is allowing you to do is, again, using certain powers that are within you, again, as a spiritual being, and allowing you to raise your level of consciousness to higher and higher and higher levels of awareness. So then now you're developing the ability of what's called attunement to. You're vibrating and tuning yourself to anything that exists around you, whether it's, let's say it's in nature, what a tree feels, the leaves of a tree, the wind, and so on and so forth. So, introspection, observation without tension. Take a new way to work. Look at it. Could I ask you, if you closed your eyes, could you tell me exactly what's in your bedroom? Every article, color, piece of furniture in your children's or your significant others? Practice that. Practice closing your eyes and looking at your room or your bedroom and then coming back and describing everything that's in there. Practice the ability to start by practicing and take a lemon, put it in your hand, feel it. Close your eyes. Then feel it. Then remove it and see in your mind if you can construct that lemon just in your hand. What it feels like, what it smells like. This is how we can begin to use and grow ourselves to develop these abilities and sensitivities that many people ask me, well, how do I become sensitive? So observation, introspection, prior to bed, meditation, one-sided, clear focus on an object of study, looking at it, observing it, coming to the best choice. When we return, in the time we have left, we'll talk about the three bodies. So we'll be back in a moment. Please call in for some questions and comments. Looking forward to it.
The best that we can do. Is this the best we can do?
Sweet land of liberty, the writing is on the wall. Your promise is so great, I hope it's not too late for the hero to save us all. Yeah, 'cause it would be so sad if we lose what we have, greatest nation of them all. Yeah, open both of your eyes, wake up and realize we change or we surely fall. Question that I pose to you, tell me, is this the best that we can do? Told you all those lies, now you know, but what will you do about it? Deny, say it's okay, delude, get through your day, just hope that it goes away. Yeah, the leaders that we choose corrupt and they abuse the power that we allow. Yeah, my country, 'tis of thee. I beg you, join with me. Bring us back together now. Question that I pose to you. Tell me, is this the best that we can do? Is this the best that we can do? Is this the best we can do? My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the writing is on the wall. Your promise is so great, I hope it's not too late for the hero to save us all. Question that I pose to you, people, is this the best that we can do? Is this the best that we can do? Is this the best we can do? Is this the best?
Yes. You're listening to Izzy James and the best we can do. And now, we're joining Dr. Kenneth Davis in Creating Health, Mind, Body, Spirit. You can call in live at this moment. The phone lines are open, 845-290-9493. We encourage you to call in at this time, 845-290-9493.
You're listening to Rockland World.
Okay, we are back, and in the remaining segment of the show, I wanted to talk about we've talked about in previous shows the triune model of health in our system, and how there's the 1%, 9%, and 90%. Meaning that the physical is 1%, the mind is 9%, and the spiritual angle is 90%. I want to share with you an understanding of a specific truth that I'd like everyone to understand about yourself and your body. First of all, we're going to talk about that there are not just one body that you have, and why also, I'm going to tie this in as to why we develop on a deeper level, why we manifest and develop illness in the physical body. First of all, we have three bodies. We don't have one body. We have three, and this is what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about these bodies. The physical body, or the material body, is, we all know what our physical body is. We can touch it, we can feel it, and our physical body, of course, houses our bone, our nerves, our blood, our skin, our organs, our glands, our tissue, everything that's physical. Dense. Now, we also have a second body. Every human being has this body, and we call it the emotional body, or the psychical body, body of emotion and desire and weaknesses. This body, this second body, this emotional body, we all have, as I mentioned, and it looks just like the physical body. So it's this body that allows us to have emotion and feeling and sentiment. Vibrates, though, at a higher frequency of vibration than the physical body. Then we have a third body. We call this body the body of thought. The body of thought, clarity, and reason. We call this body the noetical body. Noetical meaning thought, reason. So we have a physical body, material. We have an emotional body, body of emotion, desire, sentiment. We have a noetical body, which is the body of thought and reason. We all have these three bodies, every single human being on this planet. We're not necessarily aware of them, but we all have one. The noetical body vibrates at a higher frequency of vibration. Now, one other thing I want to mention is that we all have, too, a mold. We talked a little bit about this, or what's called the etheric envelope, or the etheric double. The double, meaning that there is a mold. I mentioned that for something to exist, there has to be a mold or a form that makes it. Just like you need a blueprint to build a house. You have to have a mold that makes the body. And there is a mold that makes our physical body and these other bodies. So that this mold, or what's called the etheric double, connects these three bodies together. So most illnesses and disruptions that begin to manifest in our physical body actually occurs and begins by disruption in these other two subtle bodies that we have. Actually, it really never first develops in the physical body. Also, I want to mention that, and I won't get into the depth of it on this show, is that these bodies, for example, the physical body is really the microcosm of the physical world in which we live in, or the world of the three dimensions. What's the three-dimensional world we live in? Right? Height, width, and depth. Meaning that our physicalness, our body, can only be in one place at one time. So it adheres to the laws of the three-dimensional world in which we live in. Now, I also mentioned previously that 99% of people's stressors are caused by the inability of our body when we're under stress to join up with the mind. So this emotional, psychical body is the body that adheres to laws not of the three-dimensional realm, but of the fourth dimension. Which means, all that means very simply, is that we know that there's components of mind and emotion that can go future and that can go into the past. But our physical body can only be in the present. It cannot go there. Then the body of thought, this noetical body, adheres to laws that govern the fifth dimensional realm of reality that exists. So we have three bodies in one, and we have a double. A double is the mold. So, for example, in the etheric double of your physical body is every molecule, cell, organ, gland, and tissue that becomes the physical body, that even directs DNA before where DNA needs to go to become that organ or tissue, that eye or that gland. So disruptions happen and imbalances happen in these subtle bodies or energy bodies that begin to manifest themselves in you, in the physical body. It never really happens physical first. It happens in the way in which we have emotion and desire and weakness, and it has to do with our thinking. And most illnesses and imbalances happen first because of the way in which we think or a thought. And the thought may be very deep within our subconscious. So a lot of the work that's being done and over many, many years by healers and practitioners of varying modalities, energetic and vibrational therapy, actually work and are trained to work with these subtle energy bodies. Now, we also call them and link them together, and this emotional body or psychical body, noetical, is really called a psycho-noetical body. The reason it's called that is because it's very difficult to have pure thought without some emotion in it. But we want to have more conscious thought than emotion. So in our next show, we're going to talk a little bit more about these three bodies and how we can work with them in our own healing process. I just want to end, before we have to end the show tonight, that in these subtle bodies and in this etheric double, this vitality, this prana, this ether, this chi flows through this double, providing vitality and energy to these three bodies as well as to your physical body, right down to every cell. So when we get sick many times and have disruption, it's because we do not have enough of this chi and vitality coursing through this double that provides the energy to maintain your physical body and these other emotional and thought bodies that we all have. So in closing tonight, we want to go back and remember, just real quick, is let's sum up. The principle of be, do, have. Writing out your list. Listing who you need to be or become to have the dream. Understanding the principle of be, do, have. Understanding, again, the practice of introspection. Looking within for 5 minutes prior to going to bed at night. Not listening to the mind come up to give you the reasons why you should or shouldn't have. Understanding observation without tension. Meditation, clear focus on an object of study. And understanding that we have three bodies, not one body. Psychical, emotional, noetical, thought body, physical body, linked by a double that provides these bodies with the vitality and energy needed to allow us as a human being to be and exist physically, mental, emotionally, and spiritually. So there's a lot of information for you to study and ponder tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show, and look forward to any comments. Have a good night.